From the fantasy armchair, it is the Fantasy TyRant. Hey there, fellow fantasy football freaks. I'm back. And as you can see, things are still under construction here. Don't worry, I'm going to have everything up and running here pretty soon. But for now, with all the crazy shit going on in the NFL, I got some things to say. And I know you missed me. You need your fix, right? Well, from here on out, I'm going to be doing at least one show a week. Not sure exactly when. It's going to be like, whenever I feel like I should do one. Once a week. That's all I can promise you. But in addition to that, I'm also going to be doing Fantasy 101. It's a little show that's going to teach you, some tips and tricks and hints to help you be a fantasy champ. These are the tips that separate the champs from the chumps. So if you're new to fantasy, or you just need to brush up a little bit, polish your game up a little, or maybe you've got some friends you want to introduce, hey, bring them in. Because newbies need all the help they can get, right? Have them check out Fantasy 101. Look for that coming soon. Oh, and this Sunday is the premiere episode of me and my buddy Vinny's show, Fifth Down. Basically we have some beers, we talk football, that is after we've polished off a fifth of some kind of hard A. We'll polish off a different bottle every week. We'll have different beers each week. Hopefully eventually sponsors will be involved. Hey, it'll be great. Come check us out this Sunday, 3 p.m. Pacific, 6 p.m. Eastern, alright? We'll see you there. On top of that, I'm working to get the production up and make this show the best damn fantasy football show you've ever seen. Don't worry, we'll still have the same old shit. It's just gonna be bigger, better, and more badasser. Hey, I know that ain't a word. Fuck you. The NFL draft is imminent and boy are we excited. Especially as a Niners fan, oh boy, I can't even sleep at night. I've got my draft boner on hard. Who's it gonna be at that third pick? Could it be Mac Jones or Justin Fields or Trey Lance? I don't know, man. Whoever it's gonna be, I'm looking forward to see where the future of my team is going, because my future's bright. But how about the rest of your teams? How are they gonna fare? Check out the draft to find out. But before we get to the draft, we're gonna go over some of the off-season moves that made a huge impact in fantasy for this upcoming season. Come join me in the fantasy armchair. Let's go over the 3 biggest off-season moves that had the biggest impact in fantasy. But before we do that, don't forget to hit subscribe if you haven't already. I appreciate that. If you like the show, give me that thumbs up. Share with your friends. Show it to a monkey who can use a laptop. That's pretty much my demographic anyway, so there you go. Oh, and look at the description below. I got my information for my Patreon. I'm working on some patron-only exclusive content that'll be coming out soon. Plus, I've got a website under construction now that's going to have a lot of my, my rankings, different articles, things like that. So, a lot of things in the works. See, I'm not just fucking around, and I ain't going away. The era of the Fantasy TyRant has just begun. And with that in mind, let's go over the 3 biggest offseason moves that have a huge impact on fantasy football. And don't worry, I ain't going cheap on you. These may be 3 things, but these 3 things have had quite a domino effect. They affect other players, they affect other teams. We're going to go over all that as well. So without further ado, let's start off with the Patriots and their big moves this offseason. They made some big waves in free agency, bolstering their defense with the likes of Van Noy and Judon, plus getting some protection for Cam Newton and Pro Bowl tackle Trent Brown. But the 2 biggest moves that they made this offseason definitely has to be getting those 2 stud tight ends in Jonnu Smith and Hunter Henry. It's like they're trying to stir up some of that old Gronk and Hernandez magic. Except I think this duo could be even deadlier, even without the actual murder. For those who played fantasy football when Gronk and Hernandez were killing it for Bill Belichick, you know the kind of magic I'm talking about. One can argue that these 2 studs sharing time is going to hurt each other's fantasy value. You don't know how Bill Belichick uses tight ends, do you? Oh yeah, these 2 are going to be top 10 tight ends for sure this season. I'm saying it right now. At least, 10, 12, right around that cusp. Alright, they're going to be a tight end 1, like a low end tight end 1, maybe even a mid tight end 1 some days. Heck, maybe even better. But they certainly ain't falling off the map just because they're going to be starting out together. These two are going to be the two biggest playmakers on that team. I'm telling you right now, just watch. I'm also interested in seeing where that leaves the players on the teams that they left behind. Like for instance, with the Titans, I think a lot of those targets that Jonnu Smith is dropping are going to go straight to A.J. Brown. This dude's going to feast this year. No Jonnu, no Corey Davis. A.J. Brown is going to be an elite wide receiver. All right, mark my words. Firsker ain't much of a threat, and even if the Titans draft a tight end day 2 like Tommy Tremble from Notre Dame or Pat Fryermuth out of Penn State, Brown will be getting a lion's share of those touches. I could see A.J. Brown moving up to wide receiver 1 status, no problem. Especially if the Titans address the O-line in the draft. Josh Reynolds could be a sleeper too. I could see him creeping his way up to that number 2 position on the opposite side there of A.J. Brown. I'm telling you, Josh Reynolds could be a steal in the later rounds. You heard it here first, folks. On the other side of the coin, how does this affect the Chargers? Well, we certainly won't be seeing less of Keenan Allen. Probably a lot more of him, if that's even possible. If Allen can stay healthy, and that's a ginormous if, he could flirt with low to mid wide receiver 1 numbers this season. Jared Cook, on the other hand, just pisses me off. Yeah, he's still on my shit list. That Beetlejuice looking motherfucker ain't shit. And Mike Williams is, well, Mike Williams. About as predictable as Elon Musk on a crack binge. Or like a pass from Jared Goff. More on that later on. I actually like TyRant Johnson to step up in this group and maybe be that number 2 for Herbert. It could happen. Maybe a little Jalen Guyton too. But I think it's going to be TyRant Johnson that's going to get the lion's share of those vacated touches. I think he could step up and be Herbert's number 2 guy, especially if Keenan Allen misses some time, and we all know that can happen. He's definitely worth a look as a late round flyer. The next move I want to talk about is this continued exodus of Houston Texans players, and some of them making their pilgrimage over to the Arizona Cardinals. Of course, namely, I'm talking J.J. Watt this time. Like Nuke Hopkins before him, this is going to make a big impact. The Texans are in shambles. They were in a decent position, ready to make some moves, move Watson away, get a lot of draft capital, right? Well, with all those allegations coming through, that's it on that. Now, I'm not going to judge the guy. We don't have all the facts yet. It could be just, some cash grab, just as much as it could be, legitimate allegations. All right? Let's wait to make our judgments until we get all the facts. But as far as fantasy football goes, no matter what happens, it's going to be a distraction. And it's going to be a massive gamble if any team wants to go after Watson. That's why I don't see it happening. No team wants any part of that public relations nightmare, no matter how good a QB Watson is. And with so much in the air and so little talent left, there's not much to go to with the Texans. I mean, it's going to be the Brandon Cook show, but what good is that? You got David Johnson coming back, big fucking whoop. And with this Watson situation looming, man, I'm telling you right now, the Texans offense is one offense I want to avoid like COVID. Hey, you know that was coming eventually, right? The Cards, on the other hand, are a lot more interesting. That defense is getting better, and J.J. Watt is a big reason why. Sure, he's a veteran, but he's still got some gas left in the tank, and that veteran presence is going to help those up-and-comers up and come. Now, the loss of Patrick Peterson is a big one, and that can't be understated. But I think they'll address the corner position in the draft. I'm thinking Caleb Fairley from Virginia Tech, because I think J.C. Horn goes earlier. Maybe even a pick earlier to the Cowboys, and Patrick Surtain will be gone by then as well. Their defense is going to be just fine. The offense is what I want to talk about. A.J. Green's coming in, and sure, he's close to retirement age, but he can still play at a decent level when he's not injured. And that's another big if. The other 2 wide receivers aren't going to change much. Nuke's still going to be Nuke. He's going to have another year under Kyler Murray. I think a lot of people are going to be concerned because of A.J. Green coming in and because he had kind of a lackluster year last year. But I think that Nuke Hopkins is going to be a steal in the late second round, for sure. I think he's going to put up some late first round numbers. Just you wait. And they finally got rid of Kenyon Drake. Good job, guys. Good job. Except then you went ahead and brought in James Conner. You know, just what I thought. You were going to give my boy Chase Edmonds a chance. You come in and you bring in another pile of trash. Man, what the fuck, guys? I mean, just when I think you're actually going to finally do the right thing and start Chase Edmonds and get him up and running. Finally going to give a shot to my boy. But then what do Cliff Kingsbury and the Cards brass do? The same thing they always do. Take a big old fat dump in our fantasy burrito. Bring in yet another underwhelming veteran back who seems to only know how to disappoint rather than play football. And it's like, here we go again. I've seen this show before. Now, if you watch my show, you know I'm not a Drake fan. I love Chase Edmonds. I'm also not a Connor fan. But Cliffy, I'm telling you right now, if you even think, and I will read your damn thoughts, if you even think about starting James Conner over Chase Edmonds, I will make an unprecedented move, all right? And I will put you on my shit list again. Just try me, pal. So anyway, I guess we'll knock Chase Edmonds back down into tight end 2, maybe tight end 3 status. All right, we'll see what happens. We'll see how it all shakes out. But hopefully they do the right thing and they start Chase Edmonds. Kyler Murray should have another good year, and he might even catapult to the top tier of quarterbacks with Pat Mahomes and Josh Allen. So yeah, overall the Cards get better. Hopefully they do the right things. Let's move on to the third and final major offseason move I want to talk about and the fantasy implications therein. Let's talk about that blockbuster trade that started it all. The Rams and the Lions. Now to cover this properly, let's go over that trade real quick, shall we? Here's what happened. The Rams traded this year's 3rd round pick and the 1st round pick of the next 2 years, plus Jared Goff, for Matt Stafford and El Zilcho, because that's it. Just Matt Staff. What the fuck? Serious? Now, as a man with Jared Goff on his shit list, this just validates everything I'm saying. Jared Goff is worthless. Hell, the Rams had to pay the Lions to take him off his hands. And pay they did. Jesus titty fucking Christ. I mean, sure, Stafford is a better quarterback than Goff, but he's not worth even 1 1st round pick, let alone 2 and a 3rd on top of that. Although Jared Goff being added to the mix kind of offsets that 3rd pick, you know, to be fair. But still though, that's almost as much as my Niners paid up to get the 3rd pick in the draft this year. And I guarantee that whoever they take, he's going to be better than Matt Stafford this year and much better continuing forward as they develop and since they're young, etc. So this move boggles my mind. It's like, it's ridiculous. I think this is a move that's going to set the Rams organization back like 5 or 6 years. I'm telling you, Stafford ain't that good. The dude's aging. He's well past his prime, which, let's be honest, was never really that great to begin with. I mean, Stafford may have a little left in the tank, but not enough. Not enough to constitute all that they traded away. Good Lord. Those could have been some very valuable picks. But now the Lions got all this draft capital to rebuild with. You know, once they finally figure out that Goff is a piece of shit and get rid of him, you know, they'll have a top wide receiver depending on who they take in the draft, whether it be Jamar Chase or Waddle or Devontae Smith. Now with the potential of that game-changing wide receiver, a future stud quarterback once they get rid of Goff, plus the speedy running back of Swift and a tight end touchdown magnet in the Hawk, and a pretty formidable defense, the Lions could be looking like real contenders in the next few years. For this year though, pay attention to who they take in the 1st round at wide receiver, because that guy's going to be the biggest playmaker on their team other than Swift. I think Swift will be the main guy. He'll be getting a lot of passes out of the backfield to sort of mask Jared Goff's incredible incompetence. I think that Hawkinson, aka the Hawk, kind of stays where he was at. He could have made a big leap this year, but the quarterback situation keeps him stagnant. I like him in the 7th round, but no earlier. Swift, on the other hand, is going to make some noise this season, and I think he's a steal coming out of the 4th round. And don't bother with Jared Goff unless you're in a 2 QB league or a super flex league and you like to tear your hair out. As for the Rams, they got Stafford. Yay! So Cooper Kupp and Robert Woods will at least be good, if not better than last season. I like them both in the same low-end wide receiver 2, high-end wide receiver 3 range. Woods in round 4 or 5, Kupp in 6 or 7. Higbee might actually have a better season this season, which wouldn't be that hard to achieve actually. Ooh, snap! He's still outside the top 10 tight ends for me. At the running back position, Cam Akers is going to make a huge leap this season. Just you watch. Stafford was QB 16 last season and was already starting to rely on Swift, so he's going to love relying on Cam Akers to make him look good. Now with more weapons at his disposal, Stafford could look better this year. But a lot of those targets are still going to go to Cam Akers. I think this offense is going to run through him. Cam is a surefire RB1 and will be knocking on the door of round 1 next season. This season, he's a solid round 2 running back. I like Van Jefferson as a sleeper this year. He showed some sparks last season, and those sparks could ignite this season. Take him in the last round of your draft, keep an eye on him, put him on your bench, see what happens. Definitely worth a speculative late round pick as a double deep danger dive. So that's it for my top off-season moves that impact fantasy so far this season. Now, of course, the draft is going to make some major impacts as well, and I'll go over that next week. Plus, I'll be going over that with Vinny on Sunday at 3 p.m. Pacific, 6 p.m. Eastern on the 5th Down. Brand new show premiering. I'm not sure if we're going to do it every week or what. It depends on how many viewers we get. I think it's going to be a good show. Live show, us getting drunk, talking about football, reacting to the draft. Hey, tune in, all right? More information below. I mean, who doesn't want to watch 2 guys get buzzed and talk about football? That's a lot of fun. Who doesn't want to see that? And if you hit subscribe, you don't even have to put it in your calendar. Hit that bell and you'll be notified when the show's up and ready for viewing. I hope this video gets you stoked for the upcoming season. This is going to be a great season. We've got fans coming back in. It's going to feel like a real football season again, guys. I'm so ready. And the Fantasy Tyrant is going to help you from day one. Before the draft, up through the draft, and through your regular season, to make sure that you crush it in the draft and you slay during the regular season. I'll be here with you every week, every step of the way. Hey, you thought my advice was good last season? You haven't seen what I do during draft time. Draft is my specialty, but don't take my word for it. Just watch. Thanks for tuning in. Until next week, I'm out. Peace.